Hello students, this is Amit Tiwari, your economics teacher. Students, today we will start the 13th chapter of Indian Economic Development, and the title of the chapter is Development Experience of India, Pakistan and China, a comparative study. And in this chapter, we will discuss about the strategy of growth of India, Pakistan and China, and we will see a comparative performance of the economies of India, Pakistan, and China in terms of GDP growth, structure of growth, demographic profile, and human development. And we will also discuss about the common success story of India and Pakistan and China's edge over India. So let us start. Strategy of growth of India, Pakistan, and China. So after independence 1947, India and Pakistan adopted almost a similar strategy of growth. The principal feature of these strategies are as under. It was a mixed economic model of growth. The strategy of growth underlined the significance of both private and public sector. Public sector was assigned the key role of kick-starting the process of growth, and the private sector was assigned the secondary role of pushing the process of growth. So, if we talk about the strategies of growth which India, Pakistan, and China adopted, we will see that both India and Pakistan adopted a similar growth strategy after independence in 1947, and the principal features of these strategies uh, are as under. Like, it was a mixed economy model of growth, means whatever the growth both these countries adopted was a mixed economy model, and in this model both private and public sector were given significant role. Public sector was assigned the prominent role of kick-starting the process of growth and development, and the private sector was assigned the secondary role of pushing the process of growth, means the private sector was having the secondary role in the growth strategies of both India and Pakistan. So why was the public sector assigned the key role? And the reason is partition of country into India and Pakistan had rendered both the economies as laggard economy. Laggard economy means the economies which were growing very slowly, or the economies which were backward. So, on the eve of independence, as we have already studied, that Indian economy was a stagnant economy. There was no growth in the overall output of the economy. So, the public sector were given the key role to kickstart the growth and development process. And so it was in Pakistan. And both the economies needed a big push of investment. Only the government could afford it, hence the greater reliance on public sector. And the private sector means whoever engaged in production kind of thing were not having enough capital to invest in the economy. So it was the public sector who took the charge, and government relied on the public sector only. China, on the other hand, adopted a more rigorous model of growth. Established as People's Republic of China in 1949, it decided to bring all critical areas of production activity under government control. National resources included all land were declared as government monopoly. So, as compared to Pakistan and India, China adopted altogether a different strategy, which was more rigorous model of growth. And when it was established as People's Republic of China in 1949, China decided to bring all the critical areas of production activities under government control. Means government was having the overall control over whatever the resources and whatever the production activities were there under its hand. And the China adopted statism as a model of growth, in which ownership of all resources vested in the state, and the state was to decide what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. Means the three critical questions of an economy, like what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce, was uh, under the decisions of the state, and whatever the resources were there in the Chinese economy were having the ownership of state. So the common element in the strategies of growth adopted by China, India, and Pakistan are as under, means there would be something common in among all the three countries which were adopting the strategies for growth and development, and these are as under. All the countries relied on public sector as the core sector of economy. Means whether it was China, Pakistan, or India, all the three countries relied on public sector only to kickstart their economic development and growth. So all the three economies relied basically on inward looking strategy of growth. It focused on protection of the domestic industries, resulting it from insulating it from foreign competition. So all the three countries initially uh, closed its boundaries, economic boundaries, from rest of the world, and they basically relied on inward looking strategy. And this particular strategy says that close your economic boundaries, do not open your economy for rest of the world, and utilize whatever the resources uh, having to its maximum extent, and safeguarding the indigenous economy from competition from rest of the world or from foreign competition. So, however, while Chinese economy was like a closed economy, the economies of India and Pakistan had very limited integration with the other global economies. FDIs, foreign direct investment, was considered as a ban rather than a boon in the process of growth. So, if you compare this particular strategy of inward looking, means closing the boundaries for rest of the world or rest of the economies, India and Pakistan were having very limited restrictions, whereas Chinese economy was completely closed economy. They were strictly following the inward strategy. But if you talk about Pakistan and India, they were a bit liberal. Means they were having limited integration with global economies. FDIs, like foreign direct investment, was considered as a ban. Means it was a ban in this particular kind of growth strategy, which is known as inward looking strategy. FDIs was a ban rather than boon in the process of growth. Hence, we have closed uh, almost all the interface of the economy with rest of the world. So in China, all the national resources were under the control and command of the government. In India and Pakistan, on the other hand, private ownership of resources was allowed, which is why the strategy model of the growth adopted by China is termed as statism, complete ownership of resources by the state, while the strategy model of growth adopted by India and Pakistan is called the mixed economic growth of model. So this is the basis of distinction between the economy of China and the economy of India and Pakistan. Chinese economy is termed as statism because complete they are having the complete ownership of resources by the state, whereas Indian economy or Indian strategy or model of growth adopted by India and Pakistan is known as mixed economic growth of model, because it both these countries are not having complete restrictions or complete ownership on the resources which these economies are having. Private ownership of resources was also allowed. So over time, the strategy of growth has undergone a significant change in India and Pakistan, as indicated by the following observations. The government in both the economies are now relying on model of growth, which continues to be mixed economy model, but it is the one which assign greater importance to the private sector rather than the public sector. Now the model of growth is the one which assigns greater importance to FDI rather than the domestic investment. So over a period of time, the strategies of growth has undergone a very prominent and significant change both in India and Pakistan. Uh, both the countries, both the governments are now relying on a model of growth which continues to be mixed economy model, but uh, it is the one which is assigning greater importance to the private sector rather than public sector, and they are assigning greater importance to FDIs, means foreign direct investment, rather than domestic investments. So in China, on the other hand, the core element of the growth model has not changed. It continues to be state managed economy. Both the countries like Pakistan and India have changed their economic model, economic growth model, but China is still following or continuing the same state managed economy, means statism. However, a substantial transformation has occurred in China in terms of the integration of the economy with the rest of the world. The Chinese economy has shown a significant transformation from a closed economy to an open economy. It now largely depends on external demands. It is an export oriented economy. FDI is now accorded a high priority in the context of economic growth. Now, as China is having a statism as an economic growth model, but there is a substantial transformation one can see in China in terms of integration of the economy with the rest of the world. Now, Chinese economy has opened up significantly for rest of the world. Now, it has turned into an export-oriented economy, and it depends on the external demands. FDI is now welcomed in the economic growth process of China. So it is owing to the change in the strategy of growth that all the three economies like India, China, and Pakistan have succeeded in achieving a breakthrough in their growth path. So this GDP growth has taken a substantial jump in the economies of India, Pakistan, and China. The structure of growth has recorded a significant transformation, and the demographic profile is being rewritten, and Human Development Index has broken its stagnation. So, uh, if we uh, if you try to find out the result or the accomplishment of the different strategies that three economies like India, China, and Pakistan has adopted, and that whatever the transformation that had occurred over a period of time has brought so many changes in terms of GDP growth. So GDP growth has taken a substantial jump, not only in India, but in Pakistan and China also. Nowadays, China is the biggest exporter in terms of utility items, and the structure of growth has recorded a significant transformation. And not only the GDP and the growth process has seen a significant transformation, but the demographic profile has also improved. The Human Development Index has broken its stagnation. However, it needs to be noted that the performance of the three economies with respect to the various indicators of the growth has been different. But if we take different parameters of growth, we will find so many disparities and so many differences in the growth processes of the three economies. So this is for today, and the remaining portion of this chapter we will discuss in our next video. Till then, have a good day.